Okay. Hey, what's
No, I'm
going
just
on,
kidding.
man?
Hello.
Did you do this on purpose?
I did see what you were wearing, and I chose to put on my Last Epoch hoodie. I was like, okay, if that's the way it's gonna be, I might as well, set the mood.
Absolute mad respect. I like it. I like the color. I like the gray and the gold and the purple,
Yeah, during launch, they sent me a box, and this was in it, and I basically only rock it for podcasts and seasonal launches, which is not very often.
Yeah. Well, right. We're very excited that hopefully after this launch in April, the cadence will be a little bit better, you think?
That's what we're hoping for. They have said loud and clear that they've heard from the community that waiting 9 months for a season is not okay, especially as it's horrible. It's way too long. So we're hoping that they get back on track to 3 to 4 months in between.
Yeah, that's going to be big, especially now that they have, another Titan in the field with Path of Exile 2, right? So we've got Last Epoch, we've got Pee-wee 1, now we've got Path of Exile 2. It's like three big Titans of the ARPG genre.
That's right. I know.
Just those three.
I gotta say, this is so nice. Normally, I've gotta have Discord opened and Streamlabs, and I could just kind of sit back and relax. I like this.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And I'd be remiss if I actually didn't do what I was planning to do to open this. So here we go. 1 second, Aaron. Hi, it's me, your host, RJ. This is the Still Stained Podcast. Welcome. We have Aaron of Action RPG here to talk all things ARPGs, Last Epoch, Path of Exile 2, Diablo 4, Wolfson, Pantheon, Project Pantheon, all that stuff. And man, I have 2 questions to open up this chat with, okay? Because I like to sleuth a little bit.
I'm ready.
The first one I got to ask, what the hell is American MMO? Okay? Because this was the name of your channel way back in the day, yeah?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What? Why? I'm curious.
Okay. Oh man, I wasn't ready for this question. No, it's fine. So, the origins of my YouTube career. First off, hello everybody. Thanks for having me on the podcast, Try. I have a wife and 4 wonderful kids. 4. 19, 16, 12, and 9 are their ages. Okay. So 6 years ago, my son starts streaming with his friends for like fun on Mixer. Most people probably don't even remember Mixer. Mixer was like the streaming platform for Xbox. And, just him and his friends, he's friggin', 14, 15 years old. And he amassed 100 followers. And it's like, Dad, I hit triple digits. I have 100 followers streaming. He's 14-year-old kid, all excited. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, son. I'm proud of you. Nice job. Stick with it. And he's like, you couldn't do that. Like, of course, you could never do that. I was like, son, I could get 100 followers. He's like, no, you couldn't. So that night, I talked to the wife and I'm like, hey, what do you think about me starting a YouTube channel? And she was like, I don't care if you want to make a YouTube channel, but if I'm going to support you in making a YouTube channel, you are not allowed to quit until you make $1 single dollar. So I want a check. I want a deposit. I want something in the bank account pointing that you made $1 singular dollar. We could frame it on the wall as like one of your accomplishments. So then I start researching, how do you make $1? You got to be monetized, get 1,000 followers. And I'm like, okay, so if I start this journey, I at least have to stick with it until I get 1,000 subs on YouTube. I decide to make a YouTube channel to prove to my son that I can get 100 followers and that to prove to my wife that I could make $1. So when I started coming up with an idea for the channel, I wanted it to be a gaming channel because my son was doing a gaming channel. And at that time, I think, what was I following? I was following Lost Ark, the development of Lost Ark, or one of those types of games. And it didn't get, there was, at that time, there was a lot of basically Korean MMOs that didn't get Western releases. So it's like, it sucks that there's so many big MMOs that don't actually get a Western release. So my initial channel was American MMO, which is basically covering MMOs that you could play in North America. And I came to realize very quickly that I was playing PoE 1. You know, I was starting to get into Last Epoch's like Kickstarter campaign. Wolson was knocking on the door. I was playing Titan Quest. I was playing Torchlight 2. Like there was all these other games, and I'm like, this is so stupid. I don't even play MMOs half the time. I play action RPGs. So then I went to YouTube and I typed in action RPG and I searched by channel name. And like my brain exploded. I couldn't believe it. There was not one YouTube channel on all of YouTube named Action RPG. I was like, oh, that's ding.
Yep.
American MMO became Action RPG. 5 years later, I made more than $1, and now this is my full-time job. So that's the big. That's the story.
That's an awesome story. And did your son continue his mixer journey?
He did until it went away. Like he kind of fell off. I think he was playing Halo or something like that.
Halo? Who plays Halo now? What?
Well, you gotta remember, it was like 6 years ago. Actually, you're right. Who was even playing Halo 6 years ago? Right?
I don't know, but
yeah,
man, did you frame that first dollar you made?
No, chance? Because it was funny. Like it comes from AdSense, and it's like a direct deposit, and it was like not as cool as we thought it was gonna be. So no, we didn't frame the dollar.
Oh well,
yeah, but that's the story.
That's awesome, man. You've come quite a bit further than that first dollar in these 5 years. Congratulations on all that extreme growth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Especially
went full-time February last year.
Yeah, I mean, Last Epoch's launch was just tremendous for you, and it was awesome to see it just go like this. Especially that first subathon too. Oh my god. That was crazy. How did that feel? A subathon?
Well, it was, you know, it's you're the first subathon, you never know what to expect, and it was just like a perfect storm. I went full time in February. Last Epoch launched 1.0 February 21st, 2024, and it was my first subathon, so I could dedicate the time to content creation because I didn't have my full-time job. And we went for 31 days. And then September 19th, we kicked off Subathon 2 because I promised the community if we unlock Twitch Partner Plus, which is 3 straight months of hitting 350 points back then, I would do another Subathon. So I was like, hey, if we hit this incredible goal, I will do a second Subathon. Of course, we hit it 3 months straight. So then I did Subathon 2, September 19th. And that went for 65 days.
Oh, shoot, man. Oh.
So for 2024, I subathoned for 96 days.
So you're expecting for this third subathon, does it go live April 2nd?
Yeah, April 2nd.
Okay, so we're going 31, 60, how many? 65? 65. 100? Just call it an even 100.
10 days. I'm saying 10 days.
What? You're cutting it off at 10? Or
no, I'm not cutting it off on 10.
Oh, Aaron, you're underestimating the community. They're gonna make the stream
10
for 100
days.
days. That's 65 days, dude. That's 2 months. In these scenarios, and I'm sorry for going off on this tangent, everybody. We'll talk about ARPGs in a second.
Totally fine.
Does your family see you? Because I've talked to my wife about doing a subathon in the perfect world of maybe me being able to do this full time. And she's like, well, do we just like not see you? Like, did your daughters just forget that you exist, or what? What did you do?
It requires, you have to be a master of time management. So do you feel like you're pretty good at time management?
I'm very good at time management.
Yeah, because
I was 2 weeks. Oh God. Ugh.
Yeah, because with the wife, 4 kids, me working a full-time job and making 1,500 YouTube videos, you have to like be really, you have to break down every hour of the day. Nothing can be wasted. So for me during the subathon, both subathons, I tried to do the sleeping on camera. And it's like, this is a hard one because some people like that. It feels like a true subathon because you're always on camera. And other people hate it because you run down the clock. So it's like this kind of back and forth. But my community ultimately said, the stream stays on, the clock is paused, but I could sleep in my own bed. which is fair because the clock's not running, right?
Yeah.
So my stream stays on every second of every day, but I get to sleep in my own bed. Wake up, have breakfast with the wife, get the kids to school, and then the daily stream starts, which is normally at 9 o'clock. Kids get off of school, pause the clock, check in with the kids to see how their day was at school, and then pause the clock a second time for me to do bedtime so that they see me before they go to bed. And then we stream till like, 12, 1, 2 a.m. Started over. But that's kind of the routine that I fell into.
You have it down. That sounds like a great plan, man. I might have to steal that one day. I like it.
Yeah, it works. It works.
My daughters aren't in school yet, but one day they will be. I think 3 years, she's really social. So I feel like trying preschool once she turns 3 this year in a month is a good idea. We'll see how that pans out. But
oh yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That would be hard to subathon with little kids.
That's the thing.
Because they don't go to school.
They don't go to school. They don't sleep. I mean, 4, dude, you have double my kids. I can't imagine. And they're a little spaced out. So did they help each other, help the little ones? No. Oh, even worse.
You should know this because you have 2. The lie is like when you have 1 kid, it's like, oh, you should have a second because then they play with each other and it makes it easier. No, it's like 100 times harder because they fight and they want attention and yeah, it's a lot more work.
Okay, Aaron, I'm lucky so far. I literally, before I started streaming, I put my oldest to bed. But before then, I had them both laying on this little mat that my 5-month-old likes to play under. It has some like stars and rings. And they were so cute. The little one was tickling the 2-year-old. And she was like, oh, she's tickling me. And they were laughing together. I took a video. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful.
Yeah,
but
it won't
saying
stay
once
like
they both
that.
start to talk, it's like, it's over, essentially,
Wait till they get older. Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll see.
But that's great.
Yeah.
You got 2 girls. That's a blessing. That's nice. I also always paused for Sunday to go to church. So my community knew that was like a non-negotiable, which they were fine with. They actually wanted me to stream church, but I was like, I'm not going to do that. Did you talk
to the pastor, the father, whoever it is about it, maybe?
No, I didn't even bring it up. I didn't even bring it up.
That would be good if you like snuck something into the service,
Well, I'm like, what am I going to do? Have like, I've got like my mobile stream set up. I'm going to like hold it up and like during the service. I was like, no, that's too much. That's too much.
Have you gone anywhere and streamed before?
Yeah, I've streamed in Vegas.
Oh my!
I streamed at BlizzCon. I streamed at Gamescom in Germany.
Was that 2023? The Gamescom?
Yeah.
Or 2020?
Yeah.
2023? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to, that was when Last Epoch was at Gamescom, right?
Yeah, that's when, I went with EHG as a studio to Gamescom 2023. And then we went, and then at that time I was signed with Icy Veins as their barbarian and werewolf writer for D4. So I was at BlizzCon with Icy Veins. And then, that's been pretty much it.
That's very cool. Is that a stressful setup? Doing everything live and on the move, with the cams?
It's fun. It's actually, I think it's actually easier because it's just like, hey, look at this statue. It's just the funnier part is when I was at BlizzCon streaming, there'd be someone in chat be like, I'm next to booth 6. So I'm like running into community members that's at BlizzCon, and then you got like the selfie stick up and you're hanging out with people you've never actually met in real life. So that was cool.
Oh, very cool. Now, considering you now, play Path of Exile 2, I know Path of Exile 1, it sounds like you had a little rocky relationship with, at least when it came to content creation. Would you consider, if there was an ExileCon, going to New Zealand and checking it out, maybe bringing your family and doing that crazy vacation if they decide to hold another one?
I mean, I think that would be fun just to meet other creators. Mm-hmm. I actually don't have a rocky... I don't have a rocky past with GGG at all. I think that the only reason why Last Epoch exists is because of the success of Diablo 2 and Path of Exile. And a lot of the developers for Last Epoch are huge PoE fans. I don't know if you know Carve. Carve is like a professional PoE.
Tarkovsky, or I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah.
Yeah, he is like one of the senior designers for Last Epoch. So there's a lot of people that like love, if not played professionally at one point, PoE that are designing Last Epoch. So I've got nothing but love for GGG. Before I was a content creator, I it just sounds so stupid. I've told this story so many times.
So please,
Uh,
somebody alluded to it in the chat. That's why I was saying, oh, a little Rocky, you turn into someone else, maybe?
Basically,
Like a
my wife's
transform?
like, in a nutshell, my wife said she doesn't like it when I play PoE. So, um, when it comes to player driven economies, I struggle. I struggle with buying, selling, flipping, so she's just like, I don't think you actually play PoE anymore. All you're doing is buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling, and your character is getting better based upon a player driven economy. And I invested a ton of hours in the game, and we had a lot of young kids, and she just
Hmm,
like, I don't think I like this one. So yeah, I just put it on the shelf. I
okay.
put it on the shelf.
So is that in Last Epoch, you Circle of Fortune guy then?
No,
Uh,
Merchants Guild.
wait, what? Is there just something with the trading?
100% Merchants Guild too.
What is
100%. Well, I shouldn't say 100%. At one point, I was like, every time I make a Merchants Guild character, I'll make a COF character so
okay?
that they're balanced, so that I'm playing both. Lately, I have really reeled that in. Now, all of my Sentinel classes are COF still.
Uh-huh.
But no, I like Merchants Guild much better.
Okay, just to go in a little bit on that
Yeah.
market tick of yours, what do you
hmm
think does it? Is it just interacting with other players, the need to be there at the right time and always be flipping and trading stuff, or
Well, in Last Epoch, you can't flip. So when you buy
right?
an item, it's no longer, you can't trade it. So literally, you're
Yeah,
buying stuff you need for the build. So it's not like PoE.
and that's the
Um,
part of PoE that maybe,
but like, for example, PoE 2.
yeah,
As soon as the PoE 2 drops, I'm using as many exalts as I can to immediately get divines, because I know the price of divines is going to be inflated. So you want to get as many divines as early as humanly possible, because it's like holding on to a stock
called it.
is going to 10x, right? So it's like when I'm playing PoE, I'm always looking at it like from that perspective. And I don't do that in Last Epoch because you can't. I
Ah,
also got my degree at San Jose State University. I have a bachelor's of science in business administration,
okay.
concentration in management. I always liked econ and micro, macro economics, stuff like that. So I don't know.
No, that
I
makes sense. And
yeah.
dude, it set you up for extreme success in Path of Exile too, because it more than 10x the div orb. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, for
GGG thought it
sure.
was going to be worth like 6x for every div. And I think right now it might be around 300. The inflation was crazy, man. So you
Exactly.
called it. 100% called it.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Did you ever try out SSF in Path of Exile 1 or consider it in Path of Exile 2 or even Last Epoch? Or it's
I
just
have
you
nothing
like being
against
able to trade?
hardcore. I have nothing against hardcore solo self found.
Okay.
I am still what I consider a noob in PoE 1. Before I put it on the shelf, I had about 1,400 hours, which is a good amount, but not like, you know, most 10,000 hours, 20,000
Right.
hours, a lot of these people.
Yeah.
So I was not like a master crafter. And this is
Okay.
like before content creation, any of that stuff. So no, I was always trade.
Okay. Hey, you and I seem to be kind of in the same vein. I think I'm probably around that 1,400 hour mark in Path of Exile 1. I could sum up all my characters or just shoot an email to GGG support. But I was going through because I was curious a few weeks ago how quickly I burned through leagues in Path of Exile 1 compared to how long
Yep.
I've played Path of Exile 2 so far. Because everybody's talking
Okay.
about, oh, I played 600 hours of Path of Exile 2 and I hate the game. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Well, maybe I don't hate the game because I've only played 150 hours in the past 2 months or so. And it looked like the average play duration for each league was about 2.5 days. And then
Yeah,
I would
which
be
is
done.
nothing. Yeah.
Basically, not. I'm shocked because I would get all the challenges and everything. That's my goal. I'm like completionist. I wish. Hey, Aaron, they adding challenges in Last Epoch season 2, like cosmetic rewards you can earn.
I don't know. I actually don't know. None of that. The stuff I'm testing is like balance, new skills, new uniques, like that, like the juicy stuff. The juicy stuff.
True. Come on. The cosmetics are pretty juicy. Those exclusives, I love those so much. I wish those were in Last Epoch, because maybe that would push me to go a little further, because I think that's what happens in Path of Exile 1. I think I would burn out in PoE 1 once I beat like Maven and the pinnacle bosses, then I'd be pretty much done. But those challenges in my mind push me to keep going for some reason. It's some weird tick in my mind.
Last Epoch Season 2, which drops April 2nd, will really be like a super season. And it's still going to feel like LE. That's what I try to explain to people. But the main feedback from the community is like monoliths are boring. So they're trying to juice up monoliths and make the end game a lot more tailored to your, like, what you want to do is what you can do. So you're going to have more choices there. New skills, new uniques, sentinels getting a full refresh, tombs and cemeteries, champion enemies, faction skill tree. What else is that? I mean, there's so much stuff. Pinnacles. Like quality of life improvements where everything auto transfers now as far as shards and gold, key storage. It's going to be really nice. It's really nice.
It sounds like they have anybody who thinks they're slacking after that big year last year with the February launch and all that, totally out of their minds. I've been seeing posts on, like LinkedIn, and they post stuff on Reddit about job openings still, like their team is growing. There's no like sunsetting. I feel like I see some doom posts out there for Last Epoch, which is preposterous. Just like, oh, well, they flew too close to the sun. They're done. I don't think that's true at all.
So as a full-time creator that covers the genre, with Last Epoch being #1 for me, like imagine the comments I get. Like I went through the freaking trenches getting dragged through when like, why do you play Last Epoch? Diablo 4 came out. This is the game to end all games. Yeah. It's Last Epoch can't exist. Then imagine what I went through when PoE 2 dropped.
Oh no!
With the announcement that they're delaying the season. Oh, I got freaking eviscerated. I still get eviscerated, but I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I think you'll agree with this. Not to get too deep, but I feel like when I first started making content, it was you play the Diablo season, then you could play the PoE League, then you could check out the update for Last Epoch, then you could check out the new Torchlight coming out, then you could check out Lost Ark that finally dropped. You could check out what this Undecember is, what's Chronicon, Slowromancer, all these different games, and you would jump between them all. And now it's like it feels more tribal than ever, and I think it's because culture flows downstream. So now it's like
politics.
Politically, are you left, right, or center? Video games, are you PoE or Diablo? Cell phones, are you Samsung or Apple? It's like you can't cross anymore. You can't enjoy everything. You gotta like pick your tribe. And I still play the Diablo 4 season. I'm gonna play the PoE 2 update. I check out the Torchlight season. I'm gonna play the Last Epoch season. I'm going to check out Space Marine and Wukong and all these different games. And it seems people get upset. Like they literally get upset. And I don't know why.
Well, it's the microcosm right now between Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. It's something that I hoped to the heavens would not occur when Path of Exile 2 came out. I was optimistic. I was saying, oh yeah, these communities can stay united. People will just be chatting about each other. A win for PoE 1 is a win for PoE 2. A loss for PoE 2 is a loss for Path of Exile 1. And there would be that sort of camaraderie that, honestly, just there's a lot of shit posting about Diablo 4 and PoE, and people say, oh, it's just a joke. Well, honestly, people flame D4 quite a bit. I think Last Epoch, a lot of PoE players were pretty, they liked it a lot. For a great deal of time, and they actually want GGG to steal quite a few ideas. But there is still that tribalism, you're totally right, between all these different games. And it blew up like never before last week with that PoE 1 announcement, dude. I cannot go anywhere, and I can't say any kind word. Honestly, it's mostly because I talk well about PoE 2, but I can't say anything nice about that game without just getting the PoE 2. You're still enjoying that game? you're just a shill, right? You hate that game. It's a terrible game. You can't do anything in that game. Why don't you play PoE1? There's way more content, dude. Why are you enjoying this? And I'm just like, I don't really know how to combat that because I don't want to fight. It's people are out for a fight. So I feel like your culture runs downstream of politics is very true. Like people are out for blood. And then I'm just here like, I'm doing this for fun. I'm just chilling, you know?
Sometimes I think it's like you're mad about something else, but you're really pointing it at this.
Right.
And you are actually kind of like so me for Last Epoch, people always say I'm a Last Epoch shill, which I actually openly admit to that most of the time. I have my gripes and there's things I wish they fixed. But, you know, I've been with EHG on this journey for over 5 years. I've made 700 plus YouTube videos on this game. I know the team. I know the devs. I know the owner. I know his family. I've traveled with them in person. I am like personally invested in Last Epoch. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, dude, it's just a video game. Like, I don't even think it's that good. I was like, that's totally fine, right? Like, you know, like it's totally no big deal. And I can see how that would kind of follow you as, you know, you're clean cut, you're younger, you're positive, you deliver messages in a way that lean in the respectful and everything's gonna be okay. And people really don't like that. It's just
they hate that.
I know.
I know. Great point, dude. My video saying let's not overreact about this PoE1 announcement. It sucks, all right, but let's not overreact. My most disliked video of all time.
What percentage?
54% like to dislike ratio.
Yeah, that's brutal.
I'm like, and I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm literally just like, guys, this really sucks, you know, but they had to make this decision. Hopefully they learn in the future. But no, no, you don't say that, man. And it was also the first day I've ever lost subscribers on YouTube. And I thought I'm just stating a very mild-mannered opinion. I'm not trying to be too brutal on either side. But you're right. People don't want to see that right now. And I really
what I heard is that I had some really hardcore PoE1 people in my chat and community. And they were just simply saying, we funded PoE2. Hey. This is the argument I've heard, right? We funded PoE2. You told us 2 separate games, 2 separate development teams. Both will be updated simultaneously. And you lied to us. Like that is what I heard more than anything else. It's you weren't honest. You pulled the resources from PoE1 for PoE2, which from a business perspective, of course they did. And then you pushed everything back and then you told us, sorry, you're screwed. Like that's what I heard more than anything. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah. That was the Nell from GGG. And anyone who says otherwise is a shill. Oh my God. They obviously I channeled Toxic Try there for a second. Obviously, them saying no resources from PoE1 are going to PoE2, them saying that over and over, guys, that wasn't true since 2018. Anyone with eyes, they are very idealistic over there. I see them, especially Jonathan, right, at the helm. I think he's like the ideal. He's idealist. And then Mark, the new game director, he's the realist. I feel like he's trying to rein Jonathan in and everything. And he will say things that are obviously too lofty. And then he'll have to come back with the apology video, right? Which we've seen in the past year more than in the past 4 years, 5 years from GGG, maybe even more than that, right? So I think people had a right to be upset and obviously disappointed. But the anger and volatility, I just felt like it was too much. And
I think multiple things can be true at once. I think they did lead the PoE1 community the wrong way and communicated the wrong way. You could say it was disrespectful. You could say they lied. You could say they're full of crap. You know, you could use whatever words you want. But I also think that they didn't expect to make as much money as they did with PoE2. I would guess Tencent is looking at the books. Tencent's looking at the books. Says, okay, how much money did PoE 1 make on its most successful league, which was the league where they're currently in. Okay, how much money did PoE 2 make? And it's like, 20x, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're still waiting for map tab. They're still going to be putting out more cosmetics, and they still have a retail price on the game. And they're just like, no, we are pulling all resources from PoE 1 to PoE 2 because this is the future. Like that.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And we also forget GGG hasn't shared any sales numbers since the night before launch when they said, oh, we just passed 1 million and it's ramping. Like it's continuing to go up. The line it's not stopping. And we see the Steam player numbers, which everybody has just been aghast at. Even up to now, it has hundreds of thousands of players still in the game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people I know in my life, they're playing on console, and we have no visibility in that. I bet that's an entirely untapped market of people who played D4, were interested in something different, picked up PoE 2, and it plays very well in the campaign, I think, on console. Like I played on that. It's
I would
great.
venture to guess over 2 million copies sold, and that doesn't include any cosmetics at $30 a pop, right?
It's stupid. It's stupid numbers. GGG probably never thought they'd be this successful. It was obvious in that video when they were just almost begging for people to say, okay, but there's going to be crashes. Like, we didn't expect this. So sorry. Like, we didn't think we were going to be this successful. And
then what happens? You don't want to be like Last Epoch and take your foot off the gas. They had 265,000 concurrent players.
Yeah.
And because of the lack of content coming out consistently, that number cratered. So you got to think that GGG is like, man, like we have to keep this going. Like, how long is it going to take? When do you think they're going to drop the PoE 2 update? I'm very curious.
Man,
March?
I was actually supposed to have a dev interview this month with them, and I haven't reached out yet because of the whole the tornado of stuff going on. I thought it was going to be mid-February. I thought they were just, like you said, keep the foot on the gas. If they come out and say all resources are on PoE 2, PoE 3.26, push back, no event, we're going all in on PoE 2. But in the last week, they've kind of changed course. I don't know. Obviously, I have no insight into their development process, but they're creating 19 new ascendancy classes and doing all this. Maybe it's someone just doing it after work on the weekend. We know that like Mark does that with bosses and everything.
Well, I'm sure they're looking at their socials and like, guys, we have the fire. We have to put out this fire, right?
There was also that private league by Pox that reached 20,000 players with many more players who still wanted to play. So that audience is there. And I would never deny that. There are so many people who tried PoE 2, hated it, and they just want PoE 1. That game is never going to die. If people think that game is going to die, when GGG could put out like an update every 4 months or so, 3 times a year, and sell supporter packs, oh my God. They're just going to do it because you're going to hit at least, I think, like 60,000 player, and that's like the lowest end. And maybe
what they hit total concurrent like 350,000 last league, which was their highest ever.
Yeah.
Which is insane over a decade-old game. That is unbelievable, consistency.
It truly is. And speaking on consistency and launches and everything, I wanted to ask a little bit about Last Epoch and see if you had any insights on that. So obviously last year, launch, first season.
Yep.
Second season this year. What happened? Was it just resources? Was it them being a little scared of what was going on with their competition? Because I feel like that was also a consideration, and GGG has always seemed to work around that too with their competition and not try to make that mistake. I'm wondering, is that EHG's thoughts too, or
okay?
No?
Oh man, this is quite a question. So first, let me tell you, me and my community have had a rebranding campaign. Almost every video I made, I have gone after gone after EHG for the way that they market their new content. Okay, so just so you're aware, there was Cycle 1, or I guess Cycle 1, which was 1.0. Then there was Cycle 1.1, and then Cycle 1.2. So right off the bat, most people are like, what the hell is a cycle? All right. So that's one thing. It's a word that nobody knows. Then number 2, they're not using whole numbers. So if I asked you, hey, are you excited for update 1.1? you'd be like, is that a patch? Is that bug fixing? Like it doesn't like push you to know what it means. Okay. So it was very successful, and they upped, and I'm not saying they changed it just because of me. I was just very vocal. You know what I mean?
All you, man.
But they have
You did it.
updated all of their branding. So now game launch, which was February 21st, was season 0. Okay.
Good. As it should be.
So,
Good.
so season 0, 1.0. Then it was July 9th. They released season 1, update 1.1. And now we have season 2, update 1.2. So we're using the word season, which everybody knows. We're using a whole number so they know that it's a big deal. And the number aligns with the update. So Last Epoch has put out one season, or season 1, or season 0, season 1. And then they did a mid-cycle refresh, Immortal Uprising event, September 19th. That was my second subathon. So they've had, so this will be the third time they have, or the fourth time they have refreshed the game.
Right.
So it's not just one. A lot of people think that, like, since it's season 2, they've only had one update, but they've really had 3.
Right.
This will be 4. This will be update 4.
And does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for doing this.
Yes.
Because it was confusing. That I get it with Path of Exile, the points, because they also have the league names and all that. But the whole cycle 1.1, that is very confusing. So good marketing campaign. It worked.
If they didn't switch it right now, we would be in cycle 117.
No. See, it's way too confusing. And
yes, correct.
So do you think, one, they obviously were trying to pivot into rebranding their seasons and everything? Do you think they were also pivoting in the type of content they were focused on? And that's why it's taken them longer than anticipated? Because personally, Aaron, so we talked a little bit on your podcast, the Town Portal podcast, check it out on Aaron's YouTube channel, about Last Epoch and me playing it. And I was going to play it for 24 hours straight if GGG removed Magic Find from gear.
We were talking about it,
Did not happen.
I'm aware.
They didn't even think anything was wrong with Magic Find.
I know. They were like, it's fine.
Oh, that was so good. Anyway, the reason I stopped playing Last Epoch cycle season 1, season 1.
Season 0.
No, I played season 1 too. I played season 1.
Okay, you played Harbingers of Ruin?
Yes, I played Harbingers of Ruin, right?
Okay.
The only reason I stopped playing that was, I think there was only one two real reasons. One, the combat was a little floaty, at least for the build I was playing. I was playing a Spellblade. It was a cool build. I did it myself, and I was progressing. But the progression, that was the real reason I noped out. It just felt so slow. I feel like PoE 1 has a really good cadence of endgame progression where you constantly feel like you're encountering new stuff and you get to the pinnacle, the initial difficulty pinnacles at a reasonable time. I think D4, it's way too fast. And then Last Epoch. Man, I was grinding the hell out of that game. I played like 100 hours and I fought one lieutenant of Ruin. I didn't even get to Abrath. And it's like, maybe I'm just a bad player. Maybe my build was bad, but I was grinding my ass off and I didn't even get close, I don't think, to Abrath. So I'm curious, do you think other people experience that sort of slog in the, what is it? The,
Monolith?
The Monolith of Ruin. Yes, the Monolith. And do you think they're trying to address that in this update? Oh, without NDA. Sorry. No.
You're fine. Your question is valid.
Okay. It's good.
So EHG tries to make the power progression feel really good because as you kill enemies, you unlock passive points and points in your skill.
Yeah.
So as you get better gear and as you're doing your deterministic crafting, if you understand the game, your gear is getting better, your skills have more points, and you have more passives. So from obviously like level 1 to level 10 to level 30 to level 50, and around level 50 when you're starting the end game, you should feel a good flow. Now, I do think, to answer your question, I don't know if EHG does a good job of explaining like ways that you can get through the monolith quicker and using glyphs of envy to build your stability and which path to take on the web and which echoes, which ones to avoid. I think that stuff can obviously be explained better. But I will say, as much as it's explained, I don't know if it's explained any better, or pacing is better in PoE 2.
True. In PoE 2, right? Big true. Hey, I think the end game I think the progression is completely effed. And before we got on the pod, I was saying PoE 2 endgame feels like Last Epoch progression.
We kind of did a side-by-side today on the Atlas of PoE 2 and the Monolith today in Last Epoch. The core systems are actually identical. Now, obviously, PoE 2 looks like Civ 7. It is freaking beautiful. It's got all this 3D and all this stuff in it. And if the Monolith had Breach and Expedition and Delirium and all these different things in it, they're identical.
Right.
The fact PoE 2 Atlas is better because there is more things to do inside of it. But the core system, like a randomized web map of areas you go to that are different maps, it's literally the exact same system.
Yeah, it makes sense. And the progression feels even, I think, in PoE 2 worse because the initial progression to the pinnacle is not deterministic. In Last Epoch, it is deterministic, even though it took me very long, like collecting the eyes or whatever they are, the keys to Aberrath and everything.
Eyes. Yep.
Yeah, the eyes. So I was right. Oh, yes. Hell yeah.
Nice job.
Collecting those 10 eyes and you get 10 attempts, right, for the first time. Yep. That's all great and everything. In Path of Exile 2, like the Citadels, I mean, now they seem like they're in more abundance, but that initial progression, pure random. Oh my God. It was bad. Like you couldn't see them. You didn't know if you're going to encounter them. So I really
just had to go south. I hit 11 in a row going south. That was the trick. I should have made it short and told everybody,
Oh, right. You should have. That would have been great, man, because I went north and it took me a while to find one, but now I've branched off and I've found like 10 or something, which is good.
And to be clear, just so you know, I actually feel like I see the writing on the wall. I think PoE 2 will be, their core systems and the visuals and the combat and the skills and what they're going to be able to do in endgame. I do think it will be likely top dog for a long time, especially with the money they invest. I think it'll be here and the numbers are going to be crazy for a long time.
Yeah.
Just like anyone else, just like you, obviously there's things we want them to likely change, but I think that game is going to have some insane staying power. I think it's going to be huge.
I think the legs are quite long on it, honestly, especially because a lot of people still forget it is early access, and yes, they have been working on it for 6+ years at this point, but I think that they've really focused on building out that initial experience and making sure it's done really well. And we know from their interviews, they've thoroughly tested, acts 1, 2, 3. They feel very good with those. I think 4, 5, and 6 are the other things that they've done a lot of work on, but they were probably 80% there. They're perfectionists and they want those to be at 100%. And then they just felt the need because they saw Diablo 4, because they saw Last Epoch launch with skeletal end games, whether it was the Last Epoch early access or the Diablo 4, season 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I think in season 5, they got endgame, whatever. They didn't want to do that. I think they know that endgame is not 100%. I don't even think it's 40%, honestly. I think it's just the bare bones of what could get in, and they thought enough people would be pleased with it, and I think they are right on that.
I played 280. I played 280 hours of early access of PoE 2.
Summoner,
we grinded it solid. All Infernalist. It's the only one I played. I basically went minion by minion. Skeleton Warrior, Skeleton Sniper, SRS, Storm Mage, Frost Mage. I tried to make a build for each minion, like truly testing it.
Yeah.
But 280 hours of only Infernalist minion army. And I had a lot of fun. The game held my attention because I like games that I could tinker in. So even with Last Epoch's endgame, I have 4,000 hours. And that's not because the endgame grabs me, but because I'm always trying to solve a puzzle of like, how can I use this unique with this build and try and make something fun with it. So it's the tinkering and the build making that'll keep me engaged. And that's actually why I have so many hours in Diablo 4. And now that I no longer write for the game, it just doesn't hold my attention because there's no skill tree, right? If you don't have a skill tree, you know, the game's already figured out, you know exactly what to do. So you're just like, you know, you're just checking boxes, really. It's like, okay, I leveled my character. Now I go to the pit because I need my glyphs, and then I go to the nightmare dungeons because I need my masterworking materials. And you're just checking boxes. And I can't keep my eyes open when I play.
See, I spoke to Riker last week, and he believes that D4 will be the ultimate casual ARPG. My argument against him is that it just has such little depth. I don't see it as being something that even like a casual player returns to consistently. I would see Last Epoch or Path of Exile 2 as something that people might return to consistently because they feel good to play. In the case of like Path of Exile 2, and in the case of Last Epoch, I think it just has the most incredible quality of life features. It's like I think it's the easiest to play isn't the right word. It's like streamlined. There's just so many things there to set you up for success, whether it's the revamping of your skills, whether it's crafting your base gear, whether it's sorting your inventory, everything is just, it's very player friendly, right?
Yeah.
There's not the friction that exists in like Path of Exile 2, essentially. And I see that as something that once they get their core systems down, people will want to keep returning to over and over and over for their season.
Last Epoch wants to be number 3. They don't have like any aspirations to be the top ARPG. Like Last Epoch wants to be number 3 on the ARPG mountain. They're totally fine. Having that 250,000 concurrent player is a very healthy community. And I say this all the time on my stream that I always feel like they already won. People will come and be like, dude, you know, Last Epoch sucks. It's nothing. It's literally, it can't compete with Diablo or PoE. And I always respond the exact same way. I say, the fact that you're comparing it, they already won. The fact that they have entered the conversation, they've already won. This is a after hours passion project that was worked on for years that is now in the conversation. I always use the analogy like, imagine you're working on a car in your garage. Maybe you're building a hot rod. Maybe you're hanging out with your buddies building a car. And one day you say, hey, we're going to take on Ford and Chevy. People would be like, you're insane. You're building a car in your garage for free, and you're going to take on Ford or Chevy or pick Toyota or whatever manufacturer you want. That is Last Epoch. They were using a free version of Unity, working just for years, trying to make something functional. And the fact that they are at this point is just incredible. It's incredible.
It actually true, and you gave me the name of the YouTube video, so thank you. You know, Last Epoch already won. You know, something.
It already won.
You punching down at Path of Exile and D4 will be good. Yeah, but you're totally right.
You know, Jonathan Rogers in multiple interviews has brought up Last Epoch, saying, "Hey, like we see what's happening in the genre and features that people really, really like, and we have to innovate." Pointing directly to EHG and Last Epoch. That's pretty cool. Then you see the tempering system for D4. Wow, that looks pretty close to something I've seen before, you know.
I can't believe they don't even lend a not lend a hand, but just, you know, like a cap lift or something.
Right.
To Last Epoch or anybody. It's so wild that they do that. Come on. They must
get
easy instructed to
It's easy to fall in love with the underdog, right? It's easy to get behind the studio.
100%.
So
now, question for you on that. So obviously, GGG has lifted the currency exchange market. I think they finally implemented that because of Last Epoch. I think that's
which is great, by the way. It's an amazing feature, not having to ping somebody and go to a hideout and check a website. It's great.
It used to be so bad, especially in PoE 1 too. Like I loved it in PoE 1 as well. What do you think the next thing they'll lift from Last Epoch might be? Do you think they'll give in on like a sort functionality or something or something else?
I'm not a D4 hater. I'm not a PoE hater. I try to give feedback in the most respectful way. There is one thing that my brain, I can't figure out why they made this decision for PoE 2. Their inventory system is, I think, worse than original Diablo 2. When I'm playing PoE 2, And I'm okay. And by the way, just so you know, I like inventory Tetris. I don't like that every item is the same size. Okay.
New YouTube title. Okay.
They have the smallest inventory, no auto sort of any kind, and no multiple tabs. So you'll be playing the campaign and your whole tab is filled with green quest items. And you're like, what? Why? That is the one, like when you were talking about being an innovative ARPG, that one, I can't believe it. That is like, and they just, because they took the inventory from PoE and they just use the exact same one. But
yep,
that is one where I'm like,
okay.
oh my gosh. And I hate going to town. I hate like, okay, I'm a quarter of the way through the map. I'm full. I got to go to town. I gotta sell my stuff. I gotta go to the bench. I hate interacting with NPCs all the time. And in Last Epoch, we were talking about this. I literally have never. I don't think I've ever sold an item to an NPC because you don't have to interact with them. Like you're just you get your gold from drops on the ground. You don't actually sell gear. And then if you find an item you want, you just hit F, put it in the forge, shatter it to get the shards. You actually don't ever need to talk to anybody ever, you know? So anyways, I actually really enjoy PoE 2. Again, 280 hours. It held my attention. I think it's going to be top dog for a long time. But that's the one where I don't understand.
You don't need to apologize for your opinions. Come on. People are going to leave the mean comments anyway. Smash it. Okay. Question though.
Yep, hit me.
If they implement in PoE 2, if you continue have to interacting with the NPCs, if they made some sort of romancing system with the NPCs, and every time you talk to them, you kept getting some more rapport, right? I mean, would that change things? Are there any NPCs that you would like?
Made my inventory bigger.
Dang. See, I thought that would do it, but no. Okay. No, I get you. I get you. I'm with you though. I like the inventory Tetris versus the one item equals one block that's in D4.
Yeah,
it just feels like so icons are so tiny. They literally, I don't feel the weight. Like that's the joke from, I think Chris Wilson said that, feel the weight of it. I like the weight of the actual items, but yeah, Last Epoch's inventory is massive. They've got the sort feature, the auto fly to your stash, all that.
And what's coming, which I can say for season 2, is when you pick up keys or shards, they are automatically now transferred so they don't go into your inventory, and then you got to hit the transfer button. So now all your gold, all your crafting materials, all your keys are going into separate tabs that you no longer have to manage. It's all automated. And then, of course, it's got the sort feature. And there's going to be a new tab for something else coming.
What is it? We don't know what that is, right? We don't.
Yeah, it's not announced.
It's a mystery. Oh,
but you play Diablo 4, you know how like it'll be like your nightmare dungeons and your crafting stuff. Like you've got all the different tabs at the top.
All that, yeah.
So now you're gonna have 4 different tabs at the top of your inventory for LE, and again, it's all auto sorted.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I am excited for April 2nd. I'm so hoping, dude, that Grinding Your Games just shoot a message to EHG and say, yeah, so we're gonna space this out, you guys. Okay, so we're gonna handshake deal. Okay, we're gonna do it at different times, and then in the future, we're just gonna work together. Okay.
I know 100% they have spoke. I don't know what they've talked about, but I know that they are in constant communication. So.
Oh, please. So what are you thinking? You thinking it's gonna be maybe early March for PoE 2.2? I
don't know. I have no idea. If it was early April, I'd be pissed off.
I'd be pissed too. I'd be pissed if I was EHG. If I was Mike, I'd be slamming Discord messages to everybody at GGG.
I know.
Right? Like, come on, guys, we talked, okay?
Well, let me ask you this because we were talking about this and I didn't know how to answer it. Maybe you will know. It's fine. I don't know. I'm not interviewing you. It's just a question.
Go for it.
They said early access for Path of Exile 2, 6 months to a year. Is that correct?
There's no
From
way.
What they said. Hold on. From what they said.
Yes, Jonathan has said that many times, bro. Okay. He's optimistic. No way.
So the fact that it was released December 6th and we are now early February, that would mean that the last 3 acts of the campaign and all the ascendancies and all the other classes and the end game and the balance the fact that they haven't dropped an update and the update might be coming in March or April means that even at the maximum of their time, they have like 7 months.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wrong though, but that's not going to happen. If that
you think
happens,
no chance?
I say 0% chance. Dude, they delayed the game multiple times already. Just delay. Don't. They're so optimistic. They're so idealistic, especially Jonathan. Like,
and now
he
they
does
have
not
to get
want to delay.
And they have to get PoE 1 sorted.
And they do. Yep. Right. It's not happening. There's no way it comes out in December 2025.
2 years? You think 2 years?
I think maybe summer 2025. 2026. Sorry, 2026. Summer 2026 will be the full. I'll call it June. No. August 2026. ExileCon 3, July 2026. There you go.
Oh wow.
That's my call right there.
You should write that down on your notepad so you remember to see if you were right. And we could recall this if you hit it.
July 20, ExileCon. Yep. This is good. Okay.
I was saying December 6th that we would have the Huntress and the Druid by February. I was like, oh yeah, they said that they were close to getting in and they didn't make it. I was like, 2 months, we will have more ascendancies and more classes.
No. Nothing.
Maybe this next update will be huge.
It's probably going to be pretty sizable. I think they want to bring a lot of people back. I think they're looking to peak again.
Yeah.
And really, really drive up the press for it. 500K on Steam is tough. 576K on Steam though is really tough, dude. That's crazy.
That is
so
tough.
Maybe if they do some sort of sale with like the packs, I could see that happening, because like maybe some more key giveaways, stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's a possibility, but yeah, there's no way they're finishing it in that time frame. It's crazy. That's it.
That seems crazy.
That's them like shooting themselves in the foot. I know
because
that
you got to balance all the ascendancies too, and make sure they all work, right?
And the economy, all the dupe stuff too, man. There were some crazy bugs in the game that completely busted the economy. Like one of the rarest items in the game, Temporalis, the one that can make you blink like crazy. It got mega duped, and that completely threw off the economy, the builds available in the league, because there's no way they expected thousands of that item to be available. It's a ridiculously hard piece of content to do, and find. So it's the no-hit Trial of the Sekima. So they didn't expect tons of those to be in the game. Just a lot,
Dupes are bad.
Dupes are bad.
Last Epoch's had gold dupes, and people, they get mad at.
Oh yeah,
they get big mad when the economy is screwed up.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm just gonna go Circle of Fortune in Last Epoch. It's gonna be totally fun. My boss loves Last Epoch, by the way.
Faction system.
He just
faction system is great.
Yeah, is there a new faction coming in the season? The Weaver? Is it the Weavers something?
They have talked about a new Weaver faction tree. So you could allude that maybe there's a new faction coming. I don't know.
Well, and obviously the Weaver is a boss, which is pretty cool, because Weaver's Will is that item editing system that allows you to add, is it modifiers to unique items? Like, that's super cool.
EHG has done a lot of really cool stuff around itemization. So obviously you have just regular rarity, like common, magic, rare, exalted, and you could use exalted to slam into a unique to make a legendary, which is red. They have sets, which are getting completely reworked. Man, I hope the new set rework gets in this update. Right now it's 50-50. It is... I just want to talk about it so bad, but I can't. It is going to be... I think it'll be like a revolutionary set thing for ARPGs. It is going to be so sick.
Dude, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop. You gotta calm down, man.
Anyways, they have sets. They have some items. It's called Marrophage. It's a sword where when you break down a sword, the shards from it go into the item. A lot of people don't even know this exists. So you could break an item and the item deconstructs into another one, which is legendary. They have Weaver's Will items, and the Weaver's Will is when you wear it, and when you kill enemies, the item upgrades and adds random affixes for that item. And you could use it for leveling, or you could use it for endgame. But EHG, you get me all excited when we talk about Last Epoch Season 2. But ultimately, their vision is you play the game, you've got a couple exalted items, you've got a couple legendary items, you've got a couple items for a set. Maybe you've got a Weaver's Will item, and when you open your inventory, it's like a plethora of colors that you are using end game gear for, instead of just all uniques, right? Or all crafted items. So,
dude, the cool. I hope that GGG steals exalted items from Last Epoch. I think those are super cool. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Those are the drop only highest roll tiers of modifiers,
yeah, you
right?
can't craft them. It's T6, T7 affix tiers that are purple. Some would call them greater affixes from Diablo 4.
They just can't stop, can they? When will they get away with? When will they not get away with this? I don't know.
They're the biggest. They can push everybody around.
They 100% are. Okay, I know we're over. Jeez, I didn't even go like over half the bullets. Jeez,
it's totally fine.
I had a few more fun ones that I will just.
I this is my job.
Oh, good. 100%.
It's the best job in the world.
I'm not tired tonight. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So a few more things. Last Epoch bosses and Path of Exile 2 bosses. Your favorite Last Epoch boss and your favorite PoE 2 boss.
Oh my
It's Lagone for Last Epoch, right? Lagone?
Oh my gosh. My favorite LE boss.
A lot. There's actually quite a few Last Epoch bosses.
There's a ton of them. It's like such a cop-out answer. I have to say Aberoth, just because not only is it the newest boss, but it implements all their newest technology, and the thought that went into it is crazy. Every quarter of his life, the boss changes its environment based upon the environment inside of the time travel for the campaign. So it is like, as you traverse the boss, you are going through the different time intervals inside of the game, which corresponds with the campaign. It's like, it's pretty unbelievable when you think about what they were able to think through and make. So that was pretty cool. Favorite boss in PoE 2? Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember their names. Let me see.
You can describe them. I have a memory of everything PoE 2. So I got to fight Aberoth. I got to do that. I've watched footage of it. I've watched real footage, not fake. I killed him instantly. That's no fun. I've watched real fight footage.
Yeah, bugged builds. That's a crazy fight. I hate that stuff so much. I refuse to use any of that.
Okay, big praise to EHG. Another thing I hope GGG steals. The fact that they did not put Aberoth into like the standard realm or whatever, like they locked him out in some way for a little bit of time to let people. Race to him.
So you can't play him on Legacy.
Yes.
Yeah, it was locked out.
Huge.
Yeah, that was pretty
they've
cool.
never done that. They're just like, if you can practice, you can go insta kill.
Yeah, go do whatever you want.
I hate that. Big props to EHG. Very cool move.
You know what's interesting about PoE 2? They do bosses so well. All of their bosses, I think that's probably their number one point. The boss design, the mechanics, the fights, they're all really good. I think I like the fight, and this isn't like what's the easiest fight or the hardest fight, just talking about boss design.
Yeah.
I think the campaign bosses are actually the best, which are the Citadel bosses, because they have multiple phases.
Yeah.
Like the Act 2 boss where like it breaks and you like slide down into the second area.
Yeah.
Granted, I hate that boss fight. I think that one's pretty cool. I like the wolf on Act 1 where he's like jumping through the smoke at you and trying to get you. I think I like the campaign bosses the best. The Act 3 boss where he like gets in the big robot at the end and you got to take him down. I think those, I'm just going to say the campaign bosses are my favorite.
Yeah, they turn each of those into real set pieces.
Like what's the guy that rips the bell too? And he like throws the bell over his shoulder and you got to follow him around.
Yeah. Yeah. The crow bell. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like one of that was the third boss ever shown for Path of Exile 2 back at ExileCon 2019. He's just got visual upgrades. His mechanics have stayed the same and it's still like a very fun fight.
Other than when I'm trying to get to the final area, all my minions are stuck behind the wall because they can't get in and the area's like this big. And he just one-shots them all. But all in all, I think the boss
believe you
design.
haven't tried something non-minion, man. I know you play non-minions in Last Epoch. I see all your builds. Why didn't you try anything besides minions in PoE 2?
You were gonna understand this. I play legitimately like the genre. I have played Torchlight 2, Torchlight 3, Torchlight Infinite, Titan Quest, Chronicon, Slowromancer, Grim Dawn, Last Epoch, PoE 1, PoE 2, Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem. We're gearing up for Fangs of Astrakan, for Grim Dawn, and Titan Quest 2, and frickin' Dragonkin the Banish, launching March 6th, and all these games, right? I try to stay on top of the genre. So when it comes to other games, like I want to know everything in Last Epoch, and then in each game I pick something, right? I didn't even name any of the and all the Diablos. So for example, in Diablo, I play Barbarian. In Torchlight, I play Carino, Ranger of Glory. In PoE, I play Witch. In Slowromancer, I play Ranger. In Grim Dawn, I play Necromancer. So every game I pick something to try and be really good at, because I don't have the time to play everything. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I love that approach. That's good. Of all the archetypes, what's your favorite?
Necromancer. I'm like Gazzy. So when I was growing up, I was sword and board. Actually, I like sword and board. And then I just feel like as I'm older, I'm now more lazy. That's the honest answer. Minions are normally easier. They do the work for you. It's fun trying to create armies. Yeah, I like Necromancer a lot.
Do you think Last Epoch beats out all the other games that do Necromancers right now? Be honest.
I do.
It's okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
If they did auto cast minions that feature in PoE 2, oh yeah, that's what I want them to steal. If you want me to, yeah, that's a very cool feature.
I have an inkling that EHG probably played PoE 2, and they're probably like, "Oh, here's actually a good thing. Let's just swipe it over." You know,
we have that. One of my new favorite features is pause. Oh my gosh. And it's so funny because I remember like all the interviews saying this is going to ruin the game and you're gonna be able to pause during boss fights and call people over. I was like, yeah, for the 0.0001% of people that care about that, like being able to like be a dad and the kid walks in and hit escape and get up. That is the best feature. Like every game should put that in. I don't know how hard it is. That is great.
Yeah, it's an awesome feature. And you can do it in parties too. And everything. It's
just ridiculous. Yeah, that is.
It is. I wanted to ask you about that earlier with Last Epoch too. Now that we're bringing up pause and just general design of the game, Last Epoch it used to be an offline only game, sort of like Grim Dawn, and they transitioned to the seasonal model. Do you think?
And that was always the plan. That was always the plan from Kickstarter.
Oh, it was. Oh,
if you watch the Kickstarter video from 6 years ago, they're playing multiplayer.
So I was reading some misinformation. Okay.
It's totally fine. Yeah. The plan, they actually have a cosmetic they gave away from free. It's a Last Epoch backpack. And on it says multiplayer when, because it was the #1 asked question for 4 years across all of their socials. So they always planned on having live service model. Again, they wanted to duplicate Path of Exile's League. I actually think that's why they use cycle 1-1 and like all these other numbers. Because PoE, it's like 3-2-6. You know, they don't use whole numbers. Actually, I think that's why they did it.
Oh yeah, to try to copy them a little bit since everyone's copying Last Epoch. Yeah, I get that.
And it was just like you guys aren't big enough to drop leagues and not whole numbers like Torchlight and all these other games and Diablo and Undecember and any live service game uses season. Just use the word. You don't like, this is one of those you don't need to be edgy. Like marketing wise, you want players to play, just use what they know.
Yeah, it's like GGG has built up that rapport with the fact that each of their updates, it's gonna be meaty. Like,
and their marketing is great. They do a tease for the tease, then drop the tease, then the tease talks about the stream that breaks down the season, and then they have all the content creators cover it, and then all the content creators play it. Like, they've got a really good machine behind that.
Yeah, Last Epoch, they're starting to, like, they did a teaser actually a really well done teaser. It
Their
looked very
16-second teaser.
It was 16, but it would look good. Like,
Yeah, it
was
looked
that in
great.
game?
Yeah, they're working on cinematics and professional
Good.
video editing and being able to. I think that's also why they're slow. Like now that they're playing in that field with the top games, they want to, they want to dress and look the part, and they're
Right.
still a smaller studio with less funding, so it's, that stuff just takes longer.
And I so want to ask you, I don't want to say it. I don't want you to give anything away with smiles or anything, but
I'm
that
asked
monster
every day 1,000 times in my stream about season 2, so don't worry.
I hope I think they said they're adding new pinnacle bosses, plural, to the game. Which you touched on it with Path of Exile 2, saying bosses are really good. That's my favorite part of the game, fighting the bosses. I hope there's more bosses in Last Epoch that maybe you can get to sooner, because like I said, I bounced before Abrath, and maybe the Weaver is coming in as a boss finally. But
it has been announced that new bosses are coming.
Multiple.
But Aberoth will still be top dog. Okay.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh.
Okay.
Cool. That's good.
Now they have put out on their new roadmap future content, which should be season 3, which we'll get later this year. And on there says Pinnacle Boss. So I don't know if that means same level as Aberoth or one step above Aberoth. I have no idea.
Yeah, but he has a master though, right? Wasn't he teased as having a master? It's the guy. It's not Orbis, right?
Orbis.
It is Orbis. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
See, I read every line of dialogue in Last Epoch the first time I played through it. I'm a story guy. Are you a story guy or no?
No. I mean, I know all of Last Epoch's story, but I'm a skip the camp. I mean, I'm a D4 adventure mode, not play through the campaign.
Oh, so you probably hate that you can't skip campaign in PoE 2.
I don't care. I mean, I don't.
You're not tribal about that? No?
No. I mean, just like Last Epoch, when you play the campaign 50 times, it's just how it is. If I had alternate ways to level, I actually think that's the one thing Diablo 4 does well, is it's that hybrid MMO ARPG where it's open world and you're seeing other people and you're able to run around and do stuff. I think that's fine for their game. I would guess you hear that a lot. Is GGG ever going to allow a campaign skip? And the answer is never.
Yeah, never.
They're never going to allow it.
They are.
Jonathan Rogers said, "Over my dead body." Like, it's never going to happen.
Good. You know what they just spent 6 years doing? Making a killer new campaign and all the new assets and animations and all that stuff.
What EHG is doing is going to allow you to jump through the dungeons on alts. So that's going to be the big thing. So you play the campaign once, and then you'll have keys. And now that you have keys, you could jump through the campaign with your alt characters.
Right. Okay. I have a few more things.
Yeah.
First, what would you recommend? Oh, well, we don't have the patch notes yet. So I guess it's not fair. I'm going to ask what you recommend, people who might be hopping from PoE 2 to Last Epoch because they're interested in ARPGs now, what they should play when the cycle comes out. Is there any staple build that's remained strong and fun since the early days of Last Epoch that you think will be safe if people don't want to do a lot of research and just want to hop in?
I'm not going to recommend a build because we don't have the patch notes or the balance yet. But what I would say, if you want to play something new, something fresh, something that's going to feel different, you could play Sentinel. And Sentinel has Void Knight, Forge Guard, or Paladin. Okay. Sentinel's getting a full refresh.
Are all of them getting a refresh, or just the
all
base
of them are
class?
being adjusted?
Ooh,
including the announced Forge Guard, which will be the first mastery that can hold a two-handed weapon and a shield.
Ooh, I didn't know that. That's super cool.
Yep.
Oh, very cool. That's a cool fantasy. Dude, if they can pull it off before PoE 2 does, holy. Oh.
I think what they want to is javelins in the game. So I don't know if you know the character Javazon from Diablo 2, where you hold a javelin and hold a spear. That's going to be like something you could do now in Last Epoch.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, that's cool. And then 2 other things, man. So you mentioned a lot of ARPGs that are coming out that you might be excited for, that you're going to try out playing. Which are you most looking forward to? I know there's like Titan Quest 2 coming, and
I think I'm going to play Titan Quest 2. I'm going to support them and play it a lot. I think it'll be a bust, unfortunately.
Oh.
And I don't say that lightly. I love Titan Quest 2. I love Titan Quest 1. It's being made by Grimlore, not THQ or Crate. It's also launching early access at $70 and only having 10 hours of content. And it's dropping with 3 playable classes, and you select 2 of them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know any of that. Oh, God.
And I should probably say that was the information that was released in October, November.
Yeah.
So maybe things have changed.
Yeah.
But from the developer's mouth, 3 classes, 10 to 12 hours of content, 3 campaign bosses you get to fight, and it's announced at $70.
Ooh, that's bad. That's bad. Whew.
They are going to get, I know. I
Eviscerated.
hope they change it because they're going to get eviscerated. And they've been radio silent for months. So I actually believe that they're going to change course because of PoE 2.
Well, that's another interesting thing. So your channel covers a lot of ARPGs that I would not see without watching your channel. It seems like there's a lot of new ones upcoming, a lot of early access titles, a lot of newly announced ones. Do you think people have seen the success of not only PoE 2, but of Last Epoch in February, where this small team of developers came together and made something that it rocked Steam? Like you said, 260 some peak players. That's huge.
260,000. Yep.
260,000.
2 million copies sold. Like
that's crazy. Do you think a lot of people are seeing that and thinking, oh, now is the time for me to put my hat into the ARPG ring, just like people were doing and are still doing with extraction shooters and all that stuff?
Don't talk about Wilson. I don't know if you'll agree with this. So I used to be actually my YouTube channel. And before I made it American MMO, I almost made it an RTS channel because I loved Dawn of War. I love StarCraft. I love Red Alert. And I was like, maybe it'd be fun to make RTS. Not a lot of people cover it. That might be a good idea. That was like my first love. I played StarCraft way more before I moved on to Diablo 2. Love RTS. Modern RTS is basically a dead genre because it's next to impossible to monetize. So with the exception of like Stormgate, a newer game that's coming out that's an RTS that I've played, you can't really get cosmetics. How can you change the way your character looks in an RTS? That would be unfair. How can you do battle passes? And then on top of that, younger people don't play RTS because, you got to focus. It's 40-minute matches. It's an hour long. You have to learn. It's very PvP focused. So the point I'm trying to make is that, like, I feel like there's genres that with the industry come in and come out based upon making money. And I think action RPGs are like the perfect formula for making large swaths of money. I actually think people started developing ARPGs because of the success of Diablo Immortal. That's my guess.
Ooh.
So Diablo Immortal, a mobile with a PC port ARPG, made almost $1 billion in profit in like 4 months. Okay. So
sit down harder. Oh, God.
So when you talk about creating an ARPG, it's a genre that all ages enjoy. It's a genre that's very easy to monetize through a box price. You could sell cosmetics. You could sell stash tabs. You could go pay to win. If you want to go Undecember, Torchlight Infinite, Diablo Immortal, right? There's just so many ways to make money in the genre. And on top of that, the genre is expanding. You've got the successful launch, whether you want to admit it or not, financially, Diablo 4, unbelievably successful.
Huge.
20 million copies sold within the first couple months, right? Then you see the success of smaller studios like Last Epoch. You see the success of Path of Exile over the decade. And I think people are saying, hey, this is not a shooter where there's a million of them. This is a non-saturated market that is up and coming and that we could make a ton of money on monetization. And I think because of those reasons, you're starting to see all these other games popping up.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I've actually talked to two indie studios that are starting to make ARPGs, and they're trying to really take the EHG and GGG approach, which seems unique in the gaming industry. At least I don't see it replicated, where it's a lot of people who are big time players start to work with the community and build up something that they think the community will really enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Really crowdfunded, and that's super, super cool. So I think it's a mix of people who play ARPGs seem to be insanely passionate about the games and just very addicted to them. And then two, ridiculous sums of money. And the way the genre works too, it lends itself on you burning out on the game and then playing something very similar to it and then returning in 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or even 6 months. Because
by the way, Titan Quest 2, not a live service game either. No seasons.
Interesting. So it's a one and done, essentially.
It's like Grim Dawn. So it'll have probably mod support maybe, or 500 DLCs, stuff like that, but no live service.
Very interesting. But I think that's a great point, man. Yeah. I think you're bang on. And I bet a lot of people are like Torchlight Infinite. When did it release? After Diablo Immortal, I presume, right? 2 years after.
It's been out, I mean, it's been out longer than people think. For if you count all their seasons together, they just did season 9. So figure a couple years.
What, 2019? Yeah. So they probably saw the success there and were like, oh boy, we better do some mobile ARPG stuff. So yeah.
And of all the mobile ones, I think Torchlight Infinite's the best. I actually think it's a really good game. I like that one.
Have you played it on mobile or PC?
Oh, I shouldn't say this.
I've never played a mobile game, so
I have played Torchlight Infinite on mobile.
Yeah.
But Torchlight Infinite has a full player-driven economy, so I use it for the auction house.
Oh no. That's
so
not
I can
good.
check.
That's even worse, Aaron. Oh so my god.
I'm like putting the kids to bed, and it's like, oh, I made a sale. I know, it's terrible.
Oh no. You're watching a movie with your wife, you just gotta make a few trades here.
But imagine if PoE 2 had a full player, like had an auction house where you don't have to go to a website. Like,
don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, GGG. Don't do it. I've played it on PC. It actually does play really well. It feels really good instantly too. I played the warrior guy where you have, your spin to win, your leap slams really fast. It plays great. So
yeah, PoE community normally gets mad when I say this, but the content creators for Torchlight Infinite call it PoE light because it's super fast. It's zoom. It's like over the top AoEs that clear the screen. It's how fast can I clear each map? It's got to be under 20 seconds. So it's like a very zoom style game.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give it a bigger chance next time a season releases. They seem to release pretty consistently and pretty quickly too.
Yeah, every 3 or 4 months. The next season will likely be in May.
Yeah. All right. I'll give it a shot. Now, Aaron, with all these ARPGs coming out, last question of the night.
Yep.
From your perspective, for Last Epoch, for PoE 2, for any other developers looking to make ARPGs, what do you think one revolutionary feature ARPGs could embrace to really up the level of the genre? They haven't tapped. Maybe they've tapped into it before, but it never
revolutionary.
Like, okay, here's an example that I think failed, but you pointed it out as a win. Diablo 4's open world. I think that could have revolutionized ARPGs. Maybe it did for some people. I think it was trash. I hate it. I hate that you walk in the world and all the monsters die instantly if there are other players around. I just think it's bad. But
see, I disagree. I think in ARPGs, they are, even though they're multiplayer, if you polled your community, 98% play solo. So most people, the multiplayer is for trade, it's for guilds, it's for supporting each other, but not actually co-op. What's actually feels different is that the world feels alive because when I'm in Hell Tides, when I'm running to the world boss, it feels like an MMO. Like it feels like the world is alive, which is different. So I'm not saying, I prefer it or not. And I get enough people saying, dude, when is Last Epoch gonna put in a skip, like an adventure mode? Like, you don't hear people don't say that about PoE.
No, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Not the open world stuff. I get if I wanted to play something that had like a living world with other players, I play Guild Wars 2. I saw you had some Guild Wars 2 content. It sounds like you played it before. That was my MMO. That was my game with my wife for the longest time. Now she plays PoE 2. We haven't logged into Guild Wars 2 in 2 months. Oh my
I had
god.
a lot of fun playing Lost Ark, which people
There
always
you
call
go.
it an ARPG, which I disagree. I think it's a
Yeah.
full MMO, just its isometric view. But
Right.
I mean, with the exception of the honing system, I thought Lost Ark was a lot of fun, and we played as a community, so I thought that was fun.
Boss
Um,
battles there looked awesome.
oh, awesome, awesome. That's what we would do. Like a new raid would come out, and we had to work together and figure out the puzzle. Yeah, I always thought that was fun. Okay, I don't know how to revolutionize the ARPG, but I would tell you if I was making an ARPG, okay, there's a couple of features that I would put in that for whatever reason nobody does. One, there will never be any after death effects. I think that needs to be pulled completely out of the genre. There is nothing that makes me more mad that I have finally killed the X, Y, or Z and the loot's on the ground and I run over to pick it up and die. Oh my gosh. I don't know why after death effects have become such a staple in the genre. I've talked to EHG about this, and they have said because it adds another level of difficulty and complexity. I hate it so much. Hate it. Hate
W.
it so much. So I think after death effects should be out. You can give the bosses even more life for all I care, right?
Hmm?
The other thing is UIs. All right. So hear me for a second on this one.
Yeah.
I don't want a UI on the screen. Okay. So there's some people that are like, what are you talking about? All right. Try. You've played the build, let's just say 100 hours. Do you not know what skill is on queue? You know
Don't
what
need it.
skill's on queue, right?
Don't need it. Give us the
Okay.
option, dude. I'm totally with you.
Dude, give me my life and mana as 2 bars above my head and get rid of the UI. You don't need it. ARPGs put these huge UIs with these statues and flowers and all this crap all over it. And then when you're moving down on a map, you can't see anything because the let me give you another example. Have you ever played Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr or Grim Dawn?
I played Grim Dawn. Yep.
Okay. So in those games you could rotate the camera.
Yep.
So as you're moving, you could flip the camera. Well, sometimes I hate playing those games because I'm always rotating the camera, so I'm moving up. Why? Because you have more screen real estate. You could see where you're going.
Yep. I think that's a great idea, man. Just more customizability. And the another one that like Guild Wars 2. Have you played it recently?
No, I haven't played it for a long time.
They have dynamic UI. So you can set up certain bars to appear at certain times, or like
you can move them around the map, right? Or something like that.
Yep.
Yes.
And imagine like saying if your health got low, your life bar, popped up on the side or something, like faded in. Oh, that type of customizability in game would be so great. But even just removing everything so we could do cinematic shots. Imagine being able to get nice screenshots for your videos and thumbnails.
In Last Epoch, when you're playing, if you hit the delete key, it deletes the entire UI. So the entire screen is just your character and the environment. There's no mini map. There's no text. There's no UI. But you can't actually play that way because it also hides loot drops.
Right.
So
that's cool, though. It's like cinema mode.
You can literally do a full, but you can't pick up items. So it's like kind of stupid. But that's exactly what I want. I want to hit delete. Everything disappears, but I could see the loot that drops on the ground.
I like it.
Dude, and it's beautiful. Next time you play Last Epoch, hit delete, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this would be huge.
Okay. Definitely. I'm going to do it. Going to make some good thumbnails with that too. Get some cinematic shots for my character. I'm probably going to play a Sentinel. I'm probably going to do Forge Guard, 2-handed weapon and a shield. That sounds really fun.
Exactly. See, there you go.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm excited for it, man. This was a great time, and thank you. You went 30 minutes over, dude. I really appreciate it. Sorry for keeping you a little bit over.
No, I answer questions long. I'm sorry. I had a really good time.
No, it was great, dude. Do you want to give any plugs, shout outs? Do you have anything else to say about PoE 2, Last Epoch? Anything else?
I stream every day but Saturday on Aaron Action RPG on Twitch, and I'm on YouTube, the YouTube channel Action RPG. We'll be doing Subathon 3 April 2nd. for Last Epoch Season 2. And it'll be ridiculous. We're going to do, last time I did ice baths and mowing the lawn in lederhosen and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So I expect Subathon 3 to be nuts as well. And we'll be doing a new community treasure hunt event for Last Epoch Season 2 in Discord. So yeah, I really appreciate the time, sir.
100%. Thank you so much. The links to all of his stuff will be in the description, you guys. And yeah, we want to make him get 100 days. Okay.
Don't say
100
stuff
days
like
for Subathon 3. It's going to happen, you
Don't
guys.
say
It's gonna,
stuff
it's gonna
like
be
that.
great.
Wait, can I take the rest of the year off then after, or no?
I don't know. Maybe it's your choice, dude.
I know, that's probably right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Talk to you later, man. Bye.
See ya.